Welcome to the Gump Report. Welcome to the Gump Report. You never know what you're going to get. This is a Gump Report, and I don't remember the number of it. This is a roundup session of the Gump Report. Now, I was thinking, what do I want to talk about? Originally, I was going to talk about King Xavier, which pissed me off. Then I heard about what happened with Charlotte and Becky and their heat in the back. And then when I went to NoDQ.com, because originally I was thinking about just talking about King Xavier, I thought maybe I should check to see if there's something else more interesting. Because not many people are going to care about King Xavier winning the King of the Ring. Oh, and basically a Austin Creed winning. And then I heard about what happened with Eric Bischoff and his comments about CM Punk and basically saying that he shit the bed when it came to AEW ratings. And I thought, which one would be best? So I thought, why not do a roundup and do all three of them? Get my basic ideas, my understandings of what is going on in wrestling in this kooky little world we're in. Here it is. Now, I hope you enjoy this. It may be a long one, it may be a short one, but you're going to get something from me, baby. It's been a while since I've done a Gump Report. So, let's get started with Eric Bischoff. Sorry if my nose is running. It is raining and humidity is like over 80%, guys. If you're the type of person that has allergies and has been fucking with me, trust me, this ain't no fun. Well, if you go to NoDQ.com and you look up where Eric Bischoff does a little bit of a comment about CM Punk and the AEW ratings, about Tony Khan saying that now we're in a war with WWE. Some of what he says makes perfect sense. And others, some like a shill. Like someone who's in a WWE camp, but trying to not be totally in the WWE camp, still wants to kiss a little bit of ass of the AEW and Tony Khan. That's pretty much what you got. And I'm not going to quote for quote what he said, but basically in a nutshell, he does his podcast and he pretty much says that he never met CM Punk. He'd heard about him and he was interested in seeing where he was going to go with his reappearance in wrestling, how he can do good for ratings. He was curious and he's not against him. But this is on Tony Khan he's talking about. He said he liked CM, he wanted to see what CM Punk was like because of his style of wrestling. He thought he wrestled well, but due to the fact of WWE putting some of their show on their time slot and Tony getting kind of pissed off saying, oh, now we're going to start something? Fine. We're in a war now. He pretty much shit the bed when it came to CM Punk, and that's Tony Khan, because instead of putting one of the most popular wrestlers that he had, one of the more established wrestlers of the show, he decided to do the Matt Sydal and CM Punk match on the day that WWE was overlapping or was on the same day and the same time slot as Rampage. And he's not against CM Punk, but at this time, because of how briefly AEW's been in, they're really not getting anywhere. And saying, roughly speaking, it could take up to 5 years before the ratings really look good. Pretty much he was saying that Tony made a stupid mistake by opening his mouth and using a CM Punk, yes, who is a very culture-driven guy, who basically left the business because of the competition, treating him like shit, and basically didn't care if he lived or died as long as he came to work. He doesn't agree with it. He thinks he made a mistake. Now, what is my take on this? Was the match between CM Punk and Matt Sydal bad? No, it was actually a very good match. But the ratings do not reflect the match. The match itself basically did not draw a huge amount of ratings. It just did not. And Eric is right. It didn't draw a lot of ratings. But this is something that many people are not listening to. Many people don't want to hear. And I myself didn't really fully understand it until really when I've been talking about how Rampage should be. And that is not a second brand. This is an intermediate section of AEW that's meant to bring in new stars that are from Elevation and from, as you can see, that's my allergies. Elevation and Dark. And at this time, Tony Khan's not doing that. I hate when my allergies up. So, what we got here is not a second brand. It's never been touted as one. It's never been acting as one. It pretty much is an intermediate type of show that's supposed to bring in new stars that they believe are not 100% ready for Dynamite because, one, they don't have the space and don't have the ability to give them the storylines they need. And two, they don't need to be a darker elevation. They developed enough, they can go somewhere and work. That is what Rampage is supposed to be. But Tony is not using it in that capacity. Many people basically said, along with JD and Alex, that this is an extension of Dynamite, which is the wrong idea. You're not supposed to use Rampage that really is meant to get new talent ready for Dynamite when there is space for them and the time to create stories for them. For me personally, Eric is right. Basically, Tony should have never said what he said. It's not about that the company is too small. It's that people are not interested in a real war. They're not. Look, guys, as much as we love wrestling, and we do love wrestling, when you look at wrestling right now, it's not in a good place. Yes, there's been a lot of stir coming from WWE, and a lot of people have been released. You got AEW basically bringing in a lot of people that's never been an opportunity, and people have been very enthusiastic and happy about it. You got NWA trying to rebuild themselves. You got Impact Wrestling that basically has just done a new era, having Moose be the champion and do the Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And understand, I do have to say this. I was upset about how they booked Josh Alexander and Moose. But it does not mean I'm 100% hating it. I'm just worried about the booking going forward. This is all happening at the same time. But wrestling still is not in a great place. It's not like it was 7 or 8 years ago, where if you look at Raw, they used to get a 4 to a 3.5 rating. That means 4 to 5 million people, I think. I don't know about how the Nielsen ratings work, about if it's a 3.5, it could be 4 million people, I think. Pretty much, there used to be a huge amount of fans watching wrestling either 7 to 8 years ago. Now, look at the numbers for Raw. Look at the numbers for SmackDown. Look at the numbers originally for NXT. They wouldn't break 2 million, or maybe 2.2 million, or 2.3. The max I've ever saw was 2.3 million. A 2.3 rating, maybe about 3 million people, maybe 2.5 million. I'm not sure about the numbers. Like I said, it was like a 2.3 rating could mean what? 2.4, 2.5 million people, I think. Not sure. And Raw's rating is 1.8. SmackDown ratings always hover somewhere around 2 to maybe 1.8. And Rampage is going between 1.1 to 1.0. It fluctuates. The numbers are not there. Now, if you've not seen Slug Daddy's video on Tony Khan not opening his mouth as his production and his perception of it, he should never open his mouth. And talking about another war pretty much makes no sense because the numbers are not there for Raw, SmackDown, or AEW. WWE is not getting great numbers. AEW is not getting great numbers. Why are we caring about the 18 to 49 demographic when the numbers are still low? When you look at all that I just said, what Eric said does make some sense. You should not put out there to the remaining fans, hell, you want to try and fuck with us? We're ready for a fucking war, motherfucker. That was stupid because wrestling fans don't want gimmick matches. They don't want bad storylines. They want real pro wrestling. So I can't agree with him. But, and here's the thing, like I said earlier about Rampage, the way things are being touted, the way things are being spotlighted is wrong. Rampage is not a secondary brand. Tony is stating it as an extension, which is wrong anyway. It should be the next stage beyond developmental, which is Dark and Elevation. Dark and Elevation is their developmental. Rampage is an intermediate where it is actually live, but you don't have to worry about putting anyone there who is going to mess up Dynamite. This is its own separate thing where you bring in new people or people from the indies, spotlight them on TNT, see how well they've been developed, and then keep them there until you get room on Dynamite or until they develop enough that the people get some real interest in them, show that they really are interested in wanting them for something. That's where both sides are wrong. This is what Eric is not getting, and this is what Tony is not getting. Eric is seen as a second brand, saying pretty much in his conversation on his podcast that when WCW was mentioned in conversation with CM Punk or with Tony, that you don't got Kevin Nash. That's what he's saying. You don't have Scott Hall. You don't got Hulk Hogan. You don't got none of those bastards. They were what made NWO popular and what made WCW to a certain extent powerful. You don't got none of that, so shut your damn mouth up. That's what he's saying. Tony's saying this is the new era of a WCW or CM Punk for that matter. This is where we are going to redefine ourselves when we're ready. Because we're still not there yet. But we are the new WCW. We're going to do it right. Wrong. This is not WCW. This is nothing close to WCW. And when they become popular, it still won't be WCW. You know what it really is? TNA. Let's be honest here. AEW is the early form of TNA. That's what this really is. This is what it really is, guys. I'm not saying it because I love TNA. Remember what I've said over the years on this channel when I came here in 2012. I never saw everything that was going on in wrestling. From 1991 to 2 until about 2002, I didn't really get a chance to see wrestling on a constant basis. I had not a very good marriage, and I was working a lot. It was not the time I could watch. Sometimes I might have seen it maybe once or twice a month. Once maybe. And that was maybe for 10 to 20 minutes. Maybe 10 because I had a son and my wife really wasn't interested in wrestling. And next to that, I was either tired or I was working. Some cases I was working 10-hour, 11-hour days trying to squeeze out as much extra overtime as I could to take care of my family. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I was trying to do that. This was the situation we found ourselves in. Also, I had another schedule change. I was working at night at most at one point. And this isn't what I saw. Next to that, I didn't have cable. You guys managed to see TNA on Spike TV. I didn't have Spike. I had to save as much money as I could after my divorce, after my separation, when my son was living in another state, literally, away from his mother and me, going with his aunt. And I was having to pay money to my sister-in-law before the marriage was finally ended by divorce. I had no time, and I had no money, and I had no way to watch TNA. So I'm not saying I knew what TNA was until I got a couple of DVDs of Genesis. I would have never known anything about TNA. Not until I finally got high-speed internet in 2010 did I finally manage to see TNA before they transitioned to Impact Wrestling. So, this is what you got. I knew nothing of it. But the way it's being booked is not a WCW. It's a rethinking of wrestlers like a Jeff Jarrett wanting to bring a new show to being other than WWE. We had Tony Khan who sponsored it. You basically had Cody, the Bucks, Kenny Omega. These guys kept selling out arenas. They kept saying that we don't need WWE. We can make something. So what happened? They went to a millionaire, to a billionaire, actually a billionaire, and they managed to convince him to open his own promotion. This is TNA. In the early stages of TNA, before it went to crap because of bad management and bad booking. Does that sound familiar, guys? Does it sound familiar what I've been talking about when it comes to Impact Wrestling? And I know many of my subscribers say Impact is not that bad. And I never said it was 100% bad. But still, it's not good. Now, every promotion's different. Every promotion can't write 100% great wrestling stories. But Impact is not written barely 65 to 50 or even lower than that percent of good writing. The rest is just a big mosh of filler matches and maybe something that could be interesting that bites them in the end, like a Tessa Blanchard. So when you look at Tony Khan bringing AEW into the fray, it is the early stages of TNA, where you got a wrestler, or in this case, 4 wrestlers, Kenny, Cody, and the Bucks, going to someone, convincing them, hey, I want to start this company. We'll give you some money. You put in the rest. Help us. Built it. Just like Jeff Jarrett, he was the producer of the show. Look at Cody. Look at the Bucks. Look at Kenny. They're producers. They're executives. They're there. This is TNA. But unlike TNA, the enthusiasm of Tony Khan is way different than whoever else that got in there, particularly Dixie Carter, who was not into wrestling. But in a sense, it is exactly the same thing because Tony wasn't directly into wrestling. He had the Jaguars. And what did Dixie Carter? She pretty much had her own situation with the Carter family as well. But the difference between Dixie Carter and Tony Khan is that Dixie was never a huge fan. Not saying she never cared about wrestling, but Tony is. There is a big difference. So, what does this all really mean? Because this took 17 minutes to talk about. What does this all mean? Pretty much, Eric is right in a certain extent. They should have kept their mouth shut and not talk about having a competition because a lot of people don't want to see it again. Because a lot of times, it doesn't always work. And particularly with the low amount of people watching every show, you should be caring about increasing the fan base. That's just how it is. But you need to understand that Rampage is not an extension of Dynamite. It's really an interim between developmental of Dark and Elevation and the main show of Dynamite. They should be showing people who are on Elevation and Dark mainly. And once in a while, maybe once a month, they show people from Dynamite to show that they can have crossover. But that's just me. Let's move on to King Xavier. I've been waiting for this shit. I have to talk about Xavier Woods. Guys, I'm not against Xavier. As I said in one of my videos, when I talked about him, I wasn't against him. Not one bit. I always liked Xavier Woods. I've always said Xavier could easily be an IC or US champion. He can prove that he really can make something of himself. But he loves being tag teams. He loves being with Kofi and Big E. He doesn't really care about being a singles competitor. It's not something he really cares about. He'd rather work with people than spotlight himself. That's just how he is. Now, I'm not saying he ain't greedy. It doesn't mean he don't politic his ass in the back. He wants to do what he can to make that money for his son and his woman. There ain't no lie about that. But, in general, he'd rather work with people than do it on his own. And from what I understand, him directly pitching to, I'm sure, the brass in the back of Vince, Bruce, Kevin, and anyone else who'll listen, bring back King of the Ring. Bring it back. It will get someone over. Bring it back. It'll really be cool. Bring it back. People have been wanting it for years. They keep talking about it. At Crown Jewel, they decided to give a champion at the King of the Ring. So somehow he managed to convince Vince, Kevin, and Bruce, okay, you want it, you got it. You're going to be in it. Fine. Now, here's the thing. We do not know if he said, bring it back, I'll be the champion of it. Or Vince, Kevin, or Bruce said, we'll bring it back, but you are going to be the one that's going to run it. You're going to be the one that's going to be spotlighted. Whether he wanted it or not, he is now King Xavier Woods. Or King Xavier. Guys, I don't care. And understand, like I said, I don't hate Xavier Woods. I don't. I really like him. And the point for me, not just that he's a gamer, and I'm not a big gamer. I barely play games, but I like watching people play. But whenever I play, and whatever I watch, I think of up, down, down. I like Xavier. He's not a bad guy. But here is the entire situation. It made no fucking sense to give a guy who's had such huge accolades, hosting WrestleMania at least once or twice, having the tag championships multiple times, having a Hell in a Cell match. He's had multiple times to be spotlighted over the near 6 years. He has been on top with his best friends that he legitimately loves, and I do believe that Kofi, Biggie, and Xavier, next to Tyler Breeze, who is Xavier Woods' best friend, those four will never, ever forget each other. Ever. Unless there's a really nasty fight that will break those three up, or Tyler Breeze and Xavier Woods. I don't think Xavier will ever see them anything other than family. Xavier Woods will see Kofi and Biggie as his brothers. Legitimately, if they were born together from the same womb, he will be with them for the rest of his life. He will love them for as long as he lives. And then when he dies, he'll probably say, I love you, Xavier. I love you, Kofi. And I love you, Biggie. Either if they die before him or they're still alive. He will say their name on his mouth. As well as for Tyler. That is his best friend. He loves him like a brother. He'll say the same thing. Fine. He will always be there. But with all those accolades, why the fuck should you give it to him instead of had to think about the people that this could have benefited? And since I don't watch the product much, it's hard to remember them all. Not because I hate them, it's because I haven't seen the product barely at all. You could have given this to pretty much Apollo Crews, who said, and when he was still doing his stick as a descendant of kings of Africa, of Nigeria, I am a king of Nigeria. That would have made sense. King Apollo would have worked for him because it makes sense. He actually has bloodline of royalty, of nobility. Then, if you really want to do something entirely different, Karrion Kross, King Kross. Someone that has not been seen. Many people think he's been buried, which he probably has been, because no one has seen him for months, along with his wife. Where's Scarlett Bordeaux? Where is she? Is she hurt? Has her contract expired? As far as I know, her contract is not expired. She is not hurt. She has not been seen on Raw, SmackDown, Main Event, or for understanding 205 Live. She's not been seen at all. She's not pregnant, as far as anyone knows. So where the hell is his wife? They would have stated she was pregnant. Doesn't seem she's pregnant. It doesn't seem that she's hurt. She hasn't been seen on SmackDown, Raw, NXT, 205 Live, or Main Event. Nowhere. She's just disappeared. Like she fell off the face of the planet. Why not give it to him? Hell, Mustafa Ali, who has been pushed and then stopped, and then given a huge, terrible storyline of retribution. And he tried his best to get it over, and he never did. And then he's been working with another partner, and now they've broken him up. Why not make him a champion? Why not make him the king of the ring? A champion of the WWE's King Ali. Or King Mustafa. No. What about a Sami Zayn, who keeps talking about conspiracy. This would turn his conspiracy theory on his head, where he literally can't say shit because he won the King of the Ring. He say, I always thought there was a conspiracy against me, but I showed that the conspiracy cannot defeat me because I am King Zayn. Why not? No. You could do something with Kevin Owens, make him champion. Not Shinsuke Nakamura, because of what happened with King Corbin, there's no point in that. No. King AJ or King Styles, the most well-established guy in WWE. Yes, he has been around. He's already got huge amount of accolades. But guess what? That might actually even make him even more interesting that he tried to be a monarch as a country boy. King Styles. Well, look, let me see you. I'm King Styles, and I am a monarch. I ain't gonna talk no British shit. I am gonna speak as I am a country boy. There's something different. Finally, Prince Balor. Prince Finn Balor. Why not give him the moniker of King Finn and make the demon be the alter ego of King Finn, the king of the demons? They could have done so many things with this. They could have given us way more content than they can imagine, but they gave it to Xavier Woods, who most of his stick is comedy. Most of his stick is joking around. Now understand, there's nothing wrong with gimmicks and nothing wrong with having comedians. But the King of the Ring, just like supposedly the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was supposed to springboard someone new. The very first one was Cesaro. And at one point he was doing great with a Paul Heyman, and then he dropped off the face of the planet. He never got anywhere. Ever. Here, the King of the Ring was supposed to do the same thing, but in the end we got nothing. Nothing from it except a comedic Xavier Woods with Kofi by his side, which they're going to do some good things that people are going to like. But really, will it really springboard him into doing what? He's not King Booger. He's not Visceret. Is this all about just giving a black man the moniker of King of the Ring? If that is it, that was the most fucking stupid thing they could have done. Look, if they did it because he was black, shows 100% how fucking racist they are. Because if you're doing it because he's black, guys, and you say, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong. We should have black people in the King of the Ring and become king. It's not about if they should have black people or not. This is about making sure a good wrestling talent gets a shot. If this is only about him being black, then they are being racist, you stupid fucks. And I'm not being disrespectful saying stupid fucks, but I gotta say it. For those who truly believe that this is right because he's black and he should get it, you're being stupid, you fucks. Because that shows how fucking racist Vince, Kevin, and Bruce is. Because if it's only because he's black, shows nothing about his ability to get fans to be interested in him. Nothing about his mic skills. Nothing about his wrestling skills. Nothing about him having good wrestling psychology. This is all about him being fucking black. And if you see it like that, you are stupid and racist your damn self. So see it for what it is. If it's all about him being black, it's fucking stupid. If it's just because he pitched it and begged for it, and they said, well, we'll give it to you, but you're going to have to be the one that's going to have to keep it. Fine, it's not his fault. But if he pitched it and then said, give it to me, then this is on him. And that means he's going to have to be a damn good comedic act to make it mean something. Because he took it away from a lot of other wrestlers, including one of them or two could be black. Lashley could have been King of the Ring. Shelton Benjamin or Cedric Alexander could have been King of the Ring. You could have made those men who are also black be kings. No. It's on him. If he asked for it, that's his fucking fault. and he left his brothers, if it's going to be about black shit. Kofi, no, don't need it. He don't need it. Kofi don't need it. Desmond Xavier could have used it. Shelton Benjamin could have used it. You got Apollo Crews, who definitely could have used it because he was doing the moniker of a noble descendant. And Lashley could have used it. Hell, you could have gave it to damn MVP and he could have used it. Something. No. Now let's move on to the final talk, and that is Charlotte and Becky's backroom heat. Now, I did look at SmackDown, at least the part that I heard about the background heat, the backstage heat actually, about how when it was time to exchange the titles, which, why couldn't you done it like you did before, where someone from the other brand came in to the other show at a pay-per-view and then they dropped it then? Wouldn't it have been good? Wouldn't it have been fine to just let someone from the other brand that didn't normally get an opportunity to face the one that currently is champion of Raw or the prospective SmackDown, face them, and then bring the damn title back to SmackDown or then their Raw? No, they decided to switch titles, just like with the New Day and the Street Profits, just hand the titles separately. Nothing about their wrestling ability, nothing about them getting themselves over, nothing about their ability to use psychology, just switch the titles no matter if you're good or not. And during the segment between Becky, Charlotte, and I don't know why Sonya Deville is not wrestling. It's a shame that she's not wrestling because I always did like her as a wrestler. Having an MMA background showed that she did have some potential to be really good. Like a Shayna Baszler before she got fucked. And I kind of like her because she's cute, even though she is lesbian. She's still cute. I'll take her as my girl if she take me. But the point is, Charlotte threw the title down onto the ground instead of handing it to Becky. Becky got pissed off. Sonya Deville told Charlotte to pick the damn thing up and hand it to her. She tried to hand it. Becky threw the title at her. Then, from what I understand, those two sections... No, wait a minute. Let me finish the entire segment. Then you had Sasha come out. Becky leaves. And then Sasha and Charlotte have their little stick in the ring once Becky and Sonya leave. Now, this is what happened. Those two instances were not supposed to happen from what I understand. Charlotte was just supposed to hand the title over. Becky was supposed to hand the title over. They do the little talk. And then Sasha would come out and then mess with Charlotte. That's how it's supposed to be. But Charlotte decided to throw the title on the ground, piss off Becky and disrespect her. Becky throws the title at Charlotte, and then when they went to the back, they were screaming at each other because, simply put, Charlotte acted disrespectful to Becky. Becky got insulted. That was not part of the entire segment. And now, from what I understand, because this segment happened, they removed it from WWE.com and removed it from YouTube. So no one could see it. So now, Becky and Charlotte have attitude towards each other. And from what I understand, Charlotte, Miss Attitude herself, now has pretty much cut people off, pissed people off to the point where they don't want to talk to her. They don't want to do a segment with her. They don't want to wrestle with her, supposedly. And now, supposedly, Becky is loved. Someone that jobbed out Bianca Belair in 26 seconds. That's Becky. Charlotte just doesn't want to work with anybody. And also the rumor is Charlotte talked about, hey, why don't you just let me drop my title to Bianca Belair? That is the background heat. Now, what do I take from this? Both the asses are lying, along with the WWE. Because this is what it really looks like, guys. Becky, who basically was not ready to come back. That's what they said. She still was not cleared 100% to wrestle yet. It was some type of issue, maybe because her body had not fully been all right. Maybe she was injured. I don't know. She possibly had an injury. She couldn't wrestle that day. So instead of leaving it, Vince gave her that match and made Bianca Belair job out. Now, do you believe that was the right thing to do? Of course it wasn't. I don't. And I do believe that Becky was the one who wanted it. That it was not Vince. And even if it was Vince, she could have said something. She was that powerful with some leverage due to where she is. And if anybody says she didn't, that's a full-blown lie. You know politicking in the back happens, and she got what she wanted. She didn't have to do a long match. She got Bianca the job out within a minute, under a minute. Under 30 seconds, she got her the job out. Flat out. Now when it comes to Charlotte, I don't believe that shit about her wanting to drop the title to Bianca because, as I said many, many years ago, the first time you ever seen Charlotte work with Naomi, not Naomi, like, I don't know why Just Alex calls her Naomi. When she herself says, my name is Naomi Knight. Why do you call her Naomi? Because she's Nubian? Because it's cool to say it because you both are black? She calls herself Naomi. Call her for what she is. Just, oh, I gotta call her like that because I'm black and she's black and we need Nubian. We gotta be calling her Naomi. That's stupid. Call her who she is. Anyway, when you see that original match they first had, they had no chemistry whatsoever because that happened in 2016 to 17 when Charlotte went to SmackDown where Naomi was. And the first time they had a match, it was so botchy, so bad. Now, I'm not saying that Naomi didn't botch. She did. But so did Charlotte. Both of them botched. They didn't know each other. They had no chemistry. But instead of having a couple of more matches, try and work out having chemistry, they never wrestled again. Never wrestled again. Why? And I said this for years. Why was Naomi not allowed to ever wrestle one-on-one or in a tag match against Charlotte ever again? Why? Because Charlotte didn't want her ever again to wrestle with her. She had enough pull to say, I don't want that bitch working with me because she can't wrestle. Flat out, that's what happened, guys. Naomi never wrestled Charlotte again. It has never happened on SmackDown and never happened on Raw. And if ever did happen, it had to be in a tag match where they can tag out very quickly. But as far as I know, they have not touched in 5 years. Nearing 6. They have not touched one another. Ever. Now, if they do on SmackDown, tell me if they have. But as far as I know, they haven't touched each other in 5 years or 5.5 years. Why? Because Charlotte didn't want it. Charlotte believes because of her name recognition, she can get whatever the fuck she wants. Now, there are people that say that Charlotte is one of the best wrestlers WWE has ever produced. Fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. She's not. She can only work with a select few people. Unlike her father, like I've said for years, you got Charlotte Flair. Here. Okay. Sometimes good wrestler. Ric Flair. Charlotte Flair. Not because she's a woman. I want to make this clear. It's not because she has a fake tits. And they are fake. And no but. She cannot reach the moniker of her father no matter how much he loves her and said and I heard him say, she is way better than me. Bullshit. There's a lot more than just wrestling ability that makes you a great wrestler like a Ric Flair. Whether you like him or not for what he did for the airplane flight of hell or not, Rick is defined as the greatest wrestler of pro wrestling industry because it wasn't about his ability to work in the ring, to do the holds, to do the drop kicks, to do the arm drags, to do the hammerlocks, to do the Boston Crab, or his signature figure 8. Well, not figure eight, figure four. That's what his daughter does, figure eight. She has to try and surpass her father by saying it's a figure eight. His figure four leg lock, you know what it was? Charlotte can only get herself over. Rick can only not get himself over. He can always get the other opponent over. He always, and this is the kicker that not many people want to hear about Ric Flair. Rick had, compared to Hulk Hogan, who can only get himself over, and because the fans were so over with him, he was able to get people over that way. It wasn't about his ring quality. It was about his charisma and fame that got people over with him. With Rick, it was about his ability to make his opponents look great. Flat out. That is Ric Flair's greatest gift. His ability to wrestle someone and make them look mega great. That is his greatest gift. He had the ability to see the best or worst in a person and make sure he only brings out the best in them, so when they do their match, he makes them look like $1 million. What can Charlotte do? $10.50. That's it. That's Charlotte here. This is her daddy here. She is never going to be the greatest wrestler. She will be recognized with the greatest accolades because she's Charlotte Flair. She's now a 12-time champion. They took away the NXT titles because they wanted to get rid of NXT. So NXT 2.0, maybe she'll go there and get the NXT 2.0 championship for the women. But as the original NXT, they got rid of her accolades because they wanted to get rid of it so badly. So she's a 12-time known WWE champion of SmackDown, Raw, and the Butterfly Belt, the Divas title. That is what she has accolades in. Does not mean that she's the greatest wrestler in sliced bread. She's not a great wrestler, guys. She doesn't talk very well. She doesn't work that great in the ring. She cannot put anyone over, and she easily can hurt herself. One thing I kept saying when she used to wrestle multiple people was that she had a tendency to hurt herself. She used to cut herself a lot. When do you see wrestlers do that all the time? It's dumb. And then months ago, when we had that incident with her and Nia Jax, tell me that didn't happen. Tell me that Charlotte and Nia Jax didn't have a bad attitude towards one another, and they legitimately did a shoot where they were angry at one another, that someone didn't do something right and pissed the other off. And Charlotte looked like a stupid bitch along with Nia Jax, having an attitude instead of fighting on camera, looking like little chickens with their heads cut off. That shows how unprofessional she is. Getting angry and then starting a bit of an attitude and a brawl in the damn ring. Now, of course, that can still happen even with professionals. But look at a track record, guys. Charlotte, right now, as it stands, is a 12-time champ. 12-time. She's also a tag champ. And the most worst thing about this is, now, if it's true with what's stated in the back, nobody wants to work with her. Nobody wants to do segments with her. Nobody wants to talk even near her because she has gotten sick of everybody and she thinks so full of herself, nobody cares anymore. And now a woman who basically jobbed out a Bianca Belair in 26 seconds, either they did it and she didn't say anything, or she wanted it, doesn't matter. She should have said something, or she shouldn't have said anything about wanting to job her out and said, I am not cleared, don't have me wrestle her. She should have said something, she had the ability and she chose not to, or she wanted it, screwed over another talent to the point where she's doing nothing. So both those women are nothing. Becky and Charlotte are bitches. Period. But this is just me, and I hope you enjoyed this Gump Report. This is a long-ass Gump Report. Damn it! You won't have a problem editing it, but I will be surprised if anybody's going to like it, because it's a long-ass video. Hopefully you enjoy it. Give me a comment below. Tell me how you feel, baby. Peace.